Lesson number 3, do the hard things. Often, the right thing to do, I've found, is the thing that's the hardest. The thing that you worry about feedback from others, or won't please everyone. That's especially hard for those of us people pleasers. And I can think of 2 particular instances that stand out to me in the life of Mother Maria Gratia, in which she did those hard things and she didn't back down. One was her initial willingness to volunteer for the mission, to go to a country with blatant gender discrimination, where women were not given an opportunity to speak or to be educated, and to know that you yourself would be discriminated against as a woman, even with very good education. And that's a hard decision to make, to willingly know that the rest of your life would be spent again in a country with such extreme gender discrimination. And yet she went, all the sisters gladly went. And how fitting was it that Bishop Chartrand said at their departure mass, "Take this crucifix. May it be your companion in your apostolic labors, in your consolation in life and at the hour of death. Amen." The sisters' life and love would be a cruciform love. It would be a love modeled after Jesus' passion and death on the cross, and that they would find resurrection on Easter Sunday. The second instance is how in the midst of war times, Mother Maria Gratia made the brave decision to open their school as a hospice for the wounded. And they opened also to house refugees, those who had nowhere to go and nothing but the clothes on their back. She wrote, "Since we came to save souls, we shall stay. All of the sisters are of one accord. Not one of us is afraid." And there were many things to be afraid of. There were Japanese soldiers at all hours of the night and day, and easily they were potentially in harm's way, but they continued to serve, and they continued to stay where they knew they were needed. Because they were foreigners, they had several opportunities to flee to safety, but they refused them, because they knew with every ounce of their being that their lives were not their own, and that they had Jesus' mercy and love to accompany them through the agony, the sorrow, and hardship of this trial that they would experience. Of course, it's a little bit different, big difference, but in the midst of these stay-at-home orders across the world, many of us have been asked to do hard things that perhaps we would not have chosen to do. So many have lost jobs. So many companies and businesses have closed. So many of us have lost loved ones, or have ourselves been sick, or lost a loved one and not been able to have the kind of funeral or celebration of life that we would have wanted for that person. People are going into the front lines in the medical profession to care for so many ill and dying in our hospitals, or providing essential services so people would have their food, mail, banking. So many people are caring for children full-time while also balancing working from home, something that just means long days of exhaustion. Homeschooling children while schools were closed for 3 months. I can definitely relate to this one as the mother of a now first grader, but kindergartner at the time, who I was used to going to school 5 days a week, and just very different not having him at school, but doing his learning at home. Or if it was caring for an older family member, and the list could go on and on. Gaudium et Spes says that man can only find himself through a sincere gift of self. And I would argue that there have been no shortage of opportunities to make that gift of ourselves right now. In both big and little ways, we can make a difference in the midst of this pandemic. some small ways that we've tried to do our part. My children and I have written letters to people in our family who we know live alone during this time. We've dropped off meals and groceries and surprises to families who could use cheering up, whether due to job loss, depression, or just because. We've continued to try to tithe to our parish, and we've looked for ways to support small businesses in our community that are at risk of closing or laying off employees because of a lack of income. And I love hearing the stories of other ways that all of you and those in our greater society, the ways that they are doing things to kind of spread some hope during this dark time. Restaurants providing free meals to first responders or medical personnel, as well as those who are in need of food. People volunteering for extra shifts at food pantries, a Catholic seminary that became temporary housing for the homeless, companies that have shifted their focus from making things that weren't as essential to making things needed right now, like hand sanitizer, masks, ventilators. I have quite a few friends that are using their sewing skills to create and donate masks. And that's just a small glimpse of all the many things being done. Sometimes it's easier to wallow and complain. And I know I catch myself doing this too, that life is hard right now and it's a whole new level of unpredictable. But sometimes when we choose the hard, when we choose doing the thing that's hard but good and life-giving, we find ourselves uniting ourselves to that cruciform love that really does change the world.
When rising every morning, how do you choose to spend your day? How does a positive mindset help you through even the most difficult times?
A. 每天早上起床时，你如何选择度过这一天？ B. 积极的态度如何帮助你度过最困难的时期？